Will Egypt become a superpower?
Egypt has a rich history, stretching back to the birth of civilization itself. Its national identity was forged in the heat of battle against the Hyksos, and today the country continues to wage war on many fronts, with militant Islamists, an ongoing refugee crisis, and an uncertain economic future. Egypt has a unique position in the Middle East. It has a population of over 90 million people, home to some of the ancient wonders of the world, the pyramids, of course. And despite its long history of rebellion and revolution, it still presents itself as a modern and stable nation. But with these facts, can Egypt really become one of the world's superpowers? Let's take a deep dive into Egypt's military might, economic strengths, political situation, and other important factors to find out.
Egypt has a great army and navy, but is that enough to make it a superpower?
Although Egypt has a strong military and navy, it does not have the population or economy to support a large military. Its political system is also not stable enough to support such an organization. The country's population is only 80 million people, which is small compared with other countries that are considered superpowers, such as India. It would be difficult for Egypt to maintain its current size of military personnel and equipment if it were to expand its army substantially. But guess what? The population is not the only thing that might be holding Egypt back from becoming a superpower. Want to know what others might be? Stay with me. Access to seawaters. Egypt has no access to the sea. Based on this fact, Egypt cannot project power over large areas of water like other global powers. For example, Russia has access to both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans via its ports in St. Petersburg and Vladivostok, respectively. This allows Russia to project power around the globe through its navy. In contrast, Egypt has only access to the Mediterranean Sea through Alexandria. This means that it cannot control maritime traffic in these waters unless it gains control over Cyprus, which currently belongs to Greece.
Is Egypt's army any good?
In short, yes. Egypt has the largest ground force of any country in the Middle East and North Africa region. The Egyptian military is made up of active-duty military personnel, numbering 536,000, with an additional 825,000 reservists available for mobilization, and another 1 million members as part of paramilitary units, including conscripts. Its tank fleet numbers more than 3,600, while it possesses more than 3,000 armored vehicles and more than 3,500 artillery pieces. The Egyptian army has seen action in many conflicts over the past 50 years, as well as during recent years of unrest in Egypt. It played a major role in several wars against Israel and was heavily involved in both conflicts against Libya in 1981 and in 2011. In fact, Egypt's military has been involved in nearly every major conflict on the African continent since it first became independent from British rule in 1922. In addition to its large active-duty force, Egypt also maintains large reserves that can be mobilized if needed. There are currently 825,000 reservists available for mobilization, although this number could increase significantly if all reservists were called upon at once.
Is the Egyptian Air Force any good?
The Egyptian Air Force is one of the largest in the Middle East. It has many different types of aircraft and missiles. The Egyptian Air Force has state-of-the-art fourth-generation fighters, as well as older models that are still in service. The Air Force also has ground-based air defense systems, which can be used against enemy aircraft or ballistic missiles. These include the ZSU-23-4 Shilka, a Soviet self-propelled anti-aircraft gun with 4 automatic 23mm cannons, and SA-3 Goa, NATO codename Sagar, a mobile surface-to-air missile system with radar guidance from either an optical sight or fire control radar beam riding. Both are operated by 2 crewmen sitting side by side. Pretty decent, I will say.
Is the Egyptian Navy any good?
The Egyptian Navy is the largest in Africa and the Middle East, with a total of over 1,000 ships. It is also one of the world's 5 largest navies. The others are China, India, Russia, and the US. The Egyptian Navy has 3 primary missions: to protect Egypt's economic interests, particularly its Suez Canal, to defend against threats to national security, such as terrorism or piracy, in international waters and other countries' territorial waters, and to provide humanitarian aid. Egyptian naval forces participate in peacekeeping operations through UN Security Council resolutions, as well as NATO-led actions such as Operation Active Endeavour or Operation Ocean Shield. In addition, they maintain bilateral military relations with various nations, including Pakistan, where joint exercises are held every year. Additionally, there are facilities for training purposes at Karachi Port Trust, which was established back during the British Raj, when it was known as Prince of Wales Dockyard Company.
Does Egypt have nuclear weapons?
The answer is no. Well, let me explain. Egypt has signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, which means that they have agreed to not build nuclear weapons. In addition, there is no evidence of any testing happening on Egyptian soil, or that Egypt possesses any nuclear warheads at all. It is also important to note that while this may seem like an obvious question, many countries in the Middle East, North Africa, MENA region have not signed the NPT, and some may very well indeed be building weapons of mass destruction right now. However, given recent developments with other Arab countries' nuclear programs, particularly Israel and Iran, it is possible that Egypt could be developing its own capabilities to keep up with them, and other major powers like India or Pakistan.
How about missile capability?
You might be thinking that Egypt has the strongest military in Africa, and therefore it's an easy answer to this question. But while Egypt's army is indeed large and powerful enough to rival any other country on the African continent, we have to keep in mind that there are many factors when involved in determining whether or not a nation can become a superpower. For Egypt to become a superpower, its defense needs to have been taken into consideration, as well as its ability to produce weapons of mass destruction, WMDs. In addition, its economy must be strong enough so that it can support military spending, which is why we have the BRICS countries in place today. Egypt's military budget is approximately $2 billion per year, but this doesn't include operations outside of Egypt's borders, for example, Libya. When you take into account the amount of money spent on operations outside of Egypt's borders, and then factor in inflation rates, which will inevitably increase over time, you'll see that Egypt cannot compete with other superpowers like China and Russia.
Does Egypt have much of an economy, though?
When it comes to the economy, Egypt may not be doing so great today, but it is fast growing to become one. This growth has been fueled by tourism, agriculture, and manufacturing. Tourism accounts for a large portion of Egypt's GDP. However, the country also relies on agriculture and manufacturing to support its economy as well. The major industries in the country include mining, especially phosphate, construction, and textiles. Tourism is another important industry for Egypt because it provides revenue from visitors from around the world who come to see historical sites, like those related to ancient Egypt, or other landmarks such as pyramids or mosques. Egypt exports several types of products to other countries, including chemicals, processed food products like sugar, and textiles such as cotton clothing items and linen towels or sheets used in hotels or homes. Egypt's military is powerful, but there are still missing pieces. Egypt has a powerful army and navy, but it is not a superpower. This is because Egypt does not have nuclear weapons or missiles to deliver them with. Also, Egypt does not have many allies. If you are looking for an ally that is friendly to the US, then you should look elsewhere, because they do not want anything to do with America at this time, and maybe never will. Egypt has a large economy due to its large population of over 82 million people who work in agriculture jobs such as farming vegetables or fruits, like tomatoes and other foods that we eat every day. In my opinion, Egypt is heading in the right direction. Things are changing and improving in the country. Although its future may seem foggy now, Egypt does have the potential to become a superpower one day. It will take time and there will be obstacles along the way, but I believe that in the end, Egypt will achieve this goal if given the chance. The country has what it takes to be one of Africa's greatest nations on a global scale. So what do you think will happen to Egypt years from now? Do you think Egypt has what it takes to be a superpower? Let's hear from you in the comments section below.